Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Two Way Tonight. Thank you for being here. I'm Mark Halperin with two great guests and lots of news and your participation. If you're here in the Two Way platform, you want to be able to ask a question of our two great guests, two former statewide elected officials from what any politician running for president would say are two of our finest states. Former Montana Senator Jon Tester, former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory, both here. Opportunity to ask them questions. If you want to take advantage of that opportunity and you're here on the two-way platform, please raise your hand. If you're watching on X or YouTube, unfortunately, you can't ask them questions. You can watch them like hawks, though. See what they say, listen to them. You can put stuff in the chat. Oh, what a brilliant pair of guests you have, Mark Halperin. Thank you for presenting to us. What you shouldn't put in the chat is what we call in North Carolina, only in eastern North Carolina, we call it smack. Out west North Carolina, they call it something else. But please, no smack in the chat. Please, as everyone in Montana does, peace, love, and understanding, extended presumption of grace for all. This will be an extraordinarily good conversation amongst two statewide elected officials who served their people well, and for that they were rewarded with some wins and some losses. In both cases, I believe one loss, but we'll get to that because there's more to learn in defeat than in victory. Some say. I've never believed that, but some say it. Anyway, lots of news, domestic and international. The president once again talked up a blue streak at a White House event. It was supposed to be about farmers, and we're going to talk about that. But he talked about more than farmers, I'll tell you that. So we'll talk about the president. We'll talk about a lot about the president. It happens. Talk about what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. But we're going to start in just a moment with Susie Wiles. You know, Susie Wiles is extremely powerful in this administration, and she is low profile. She does next to no interviews, and she likes it that way. You've had your White House chiefs of staff like your John Sununu's, your James Bakers, your Leon Panettas to some extent, who wanted to be out there and saw part of their role being on TV. Not a lot, but when it was necessary to have a decisive message sent, Susie Wiles does next to none. But she did a long interview with a program I confess I'd never heard of. Probably embarrassing I hadn't. It's called like The Ladies' View. It's not The View. It's The Ladies' View. And she did a 45-minute interview with them. And what she says might surprise you. It actually won't surprise you, but it's interesting. So we're going to start with a little bit of that. The president insulted a lot of people today. Maybe we'll play that. Texas Senate race. Congresswoman Crockett did enter the Texas Democratic primary for Senate as expected. And we'll ask our guests what they think of that. The president was caught on a hot mic today. You know, when somebody gets caught in a hot mic and it doesn't end their career, although nothing Donald Trump could say in a hot mic would end his career, but when it's not really bad, you think, boy, are they lucky? And I have to say, the president was pretty lucky. As hot mics go, kind of a lukewarm mic. But nonetheless, it's always interesting to hear from the president when he's not realizing people can hear him publicly. Jimmy Kimmel contract was extended. The governor of Pennsylvania, a devout Jew, lit a Christmas tree today. We'll see what that looks like. And maybe best of all, and I can't wait to see our guest's reaction to this, there's some people in this administration who are physically fit, beyond imagination, really. Once again today, two of the most physically fit cabinet members of the last 100 years were on video doing push-ups, pull-ups together. And one of them has a waist so tapered, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how tapered his waist is. We'll show you that. That's a lot of teases. And Vladimir Zelensky seemed to pour what Bill Belichick would call cold Gatorade on the peace deal. And we'll show you what he said. All that and more right here. Our guests in just a moment. Again, if you're here on the platform and you want to get in on the conversation, please raise your hand. Quick word from a sponsor, and then our guests will be here, and we're going to listen right away to Susie Wiles, lickety-split, because you won't see that too many other places. And it's interesting. So here we go in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsors at Cozy Earth, who are having a sale so crazy, Eddie thinks it's crazy. That's how crazy it is. 40% off everything on the Cozy Earth site. Your blankets, your sheets, your bubble cuddle blanket, your shirts, and of course, the pants. Today, again, email from one of the members of the two-way community from a lady said, I bought the pants for my husband, and I love the way he looks in them, and he doesn't much care about them, but believe me, they're the best pants he's ever owned, and she's getting him another pair for Christmas. Shh, don't tell. All the things on the Cozy Earth website right now available to the two-way community at 40% off. Give the gift of everyday luxury this holiday season. Head to CozyEarth.com. Use my code TWOWAY for 40% off, and give the gift that lasts beyond the holidays. It carries into a cozy new year. That's right. Everything on the site right now, 40% off. Go to cozyearth.com. I'd get the bubble cuddle blanket. If you're on there and you're buying other stuff, just add it to the basket. Get the bubble cuddle blanket, please. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight, the former governor, the former mayor, longtime business executive, two-way stalwart, the governor of North Carolina, Pat McCrory. Governor, a Republican, I'll mention just for whatever. Welcome back. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Do you know Senator Tester at all?
I don't think we've met. I look forward to it. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
This is exciting. This man...
I mean, Montana and North Carolina. I mean, how can you not get along?
You know, I laugh when people in the media say, well, that's a rural state. Ladies and gentlemen, every state is a rural state. But maybe none so rural as...
I know Richard Petty has a place out in Montana.
Yeah.
And, you know, we call Richard Petty North Carolina's guy, but I hope Montana doesn't hijack him.
Yeah, I mean, Jon Tester is salt of the earth, a normal guy, but a lot of billionaires own houses out there, I happen to know. Senator, welcome in. Thank you for being here.
It is great to be here with you, Mark, and Pat. It is good to meet you, albeit through the two-way app. But would love to tell you that we were going to steal Petty from you, but no. He's your guy.
Yeah. Well, you know, he always turns left.
Yeah, he does.
And he's run for political office. He ran for Secretary of State one time, and he
Yeah.
was on the county commission of Randolph County for many years while he was a race car driver. Most people don't realize that.
I did not know that. That's a good fact. Senator, welcome. We love having you here. You're generous to make time. Tell people what you're doing now that you've been freed from the burdens of using profanity to Manu Raju and representing the people of your state.
Well, now I use profanity on a podcast. I've got a podcast with a lady by the name of Maritza Giorgio. We're doing that. I'm doing some contributing work for MSNBC, and then then just playing around, doing a little consultant here and there where I can pick up a gig, and I don't have to be in Washington D.C. So life is very, very good.
Yes, sir. Tell people where and when they can hear your podcast.
Well, you look up Grounded on the search engine, put in Tester or Giorgio, and it should come up. We do not have a time of day that we do it every week. We should start doing that, but we just kind of turn it on when we're both free. Maritza and I are both free to do it, and then of course we put it on YouTube and all those other fancy
Yes, sir.
that I know nothing about, because she's the brains of the operation and I am the eye candy.
When the mood strikes, you do an episode.
Exactly. That's
All
it.
right. Either you... couldn't be more grateful to you, gentlemen, for being here. Again, opportunity to ask some questions coming up later in the show. Either of you know Susie Wiles? Either of you?
I do not. I knew I knew Mark Meadows and Mick Mulvaney very well.
Yeah, a North Carolina.
I guess I'd met Previs in the past when I went up to the Trump Tower after I'd lost my reelection campaign. I went up to the shag carpet of Trump Tower and saw Rents when he was president-elect.
Yeah. Senator Tester, you ever been to Trump Tower?
Never been by.
Next time you come to New York, I'll take you right up to his office.
I've seen the sign.
I'll bluff you up there. All right. Here is an interview that Susie Wiles did. And I'm just leading with this. Not that it's the most important thing, because it's so unusual to hear her speak. And I don't know much about this show. But here's Susie Wiles explaining what the president's going to be up to. It's a long piece of sound, but it's like hearing Osama bin Laden talk. Not that I'm comparing Susie to Osama bin Laden, but you get my point. It's somebody who's very powerful, whose voice you don't ordinarily hear. That's the point I'm making, Susie. I'm not comparing you to Osama bin Laden. Here is Susie Wiles, number 10, please.
Have a fun next year. But we're going to put him on the campaign trail, too. Typically, just a little bit of campaign speak, if I may.
Yeah.
Typically, in the midterms, it's not about who's sitting at the White House. It's you localize the election.
Right.
And you keep the federal officials out of it. We're actually going to turn that on its head.
Good.
And put him on the ballot, because so many of those low propensity voters are Trump voters.
Yes, they are.
And we saw a week ago Tuesday, what happens when he's not on the ballot and not active. So I haven't quite broken it to him yet, but he's going to campaign like it's 2024 again.
Oh,
For all these people that he helps. He doesn't help everybody, but for those he does, he's a difference maker, and he's certainly a turnout machine. So the midterms will be very important to us. He'll work very hard to keep the majority.
yeah,
in the Senate.
we can't afford to have this
Cannot.
stalled.
No.
And one of the things I keep telling people, and I'm sure we're going to talk politics. I got to talk this. I am so frustrated with all of the people that gave abundantly to organizations like ours and others over the last 4 years to make sure that we won. And our objective was threefold. We didn't just want the presidency. We wanted the House. We wanted the Senate. And we were very strategic on where we went, how we focused to get those moms out. And now it's like they're all sitting on their laurels and going, "Oh, we're good." I'm like, I don't
President
think you
Trump,
realize how
he's
good
got
we
it.
aren't. And this with swipe of a pen and one election can change everything.
And the majorities in both houses are so
Yes.
small.
Right.
They are.
This is a good Senate year for Republicans. Every 2 years is what it is for House members. So there's candidate recruitment. The president started raising money for the midterms the day after the election,
Good.
and he's sitting on a huge war chest to help these people. And he'll use it, and he'll use himself, and he'll use his money that he's raised, probably his money too, and nobody can outwork him. So
That's
there's
it.
every reason to be confident, but we have to actually get it done.
Yeah.
Senator, I hate the two-part question, but occasionally I violate my own rule. What are your impressions of Susie Wiles, and what do you think of her saying the president's going to be out there campaigning a lot in the midterms?
That's the first time I've ever seen her. I think she comes across as being a decent person and somebody who believes in what she's saying. I think whether the president's out there or not, the president is going to be on the ballot in the midterm elections. There's no doubt about it, just like he was on the ballot a month ago when those elections came through. She is right. He does turn out a set of voters that sometimes don't vote in elections. But I've got to tell you from my perspective, and you talked about every state being rural, and you're probably right, every state is rural, but the impacts these tariffs have had on rural America and the impacts that the administration has had with some of the bills they've passed on healthcare in rural America, I don't know that that's going to be the platform that he's going to be able to run on and win with. I think there's got to be a lot of changes in the next year in order to be able to have a platform that you can win with. Look, you say what you want about the economy, but I'm one of the ones that believe if you take AI out of the economy, it's pretty stagnant, pretty flat. And and that's not that doesn't mean that costs aren't continuing to go up. I'm in agriculture. I'm in production agriculture. I can tell you, we harvest typically in July and August. It was the toughest harvest I've ever had because you have breakdowns, and I couldn't get parts. And you can't afford to replace it because new equipment or even used equipment is really, really expensive. So it's tough in rural America right now. And that is, by the way, the president's bread and butter, the area between those two mountain ranges. Now, Pat may see it different. I don't know, but that's just how I see it right now. I think there's got to be some changes in the policies that have come forth in order to keep the majorities in each house by the Republicans.
Governor, again, same question. What do you think of Susie Wiles there, and what do you think of the notion of the president? She thinks he's going to help the Republicans by being out there.
First of all, I've always been impressed that she stayed behind the scenes. I think that's what chiefs of staff should do. When I had a chief of staff as governor, I didn't want him out there. I wanted him to do his work. He was my chief operating officer, and I think that's very important. And I've always disagreed with chiefs of staff of past presidents that seem to enjoy the limelight. I think they're not serving the president well. I think she should be concerned about the turnout of especially Republicans and conservative independents coming out to vote based upon our recent city elections here in North Carolina. The Republicans just aren't coming out to vote. And sadly, history shows that with Obama and with Trump, who depend upon a strong base when they're on the ballot, don't tend to come out when they're not on the ballot. And that's with both parties. And so I think that my party is going to be on its heels right now and trying to get the vote out for an off-year election, including our Senate race between most likely Whatley and Cooper. And I think it gives Cooper an advantage if the Trump base does not come out, that extra 3% or 4% or 5%. like Obama got, that made the difference in other elections down the line.
All right, you guys, great answers, and you both raised a bunch of stuff I want to get to, but let's stick with ag and farmers. First of all, Senator, what do you produce?
On my place, we produce mainly grains and some legumes, peas,
Yeah, who do you sell to?
and hay. I'm organic. I've been organic for damn near 40 years, and it all goes to a local market. We're about 40, 50 miles away, where they make the grain into flour, or they sell it as whole grain.
And do they always buy everything you produce?
Yeah, pretty much. I got a couple guys that buy everything that we produce, and it is good because it's good for local jobs, and it's good for local economy, and you know, I mean, everybody works together. Those guys buy the product, they add a few dollars to it, adding value to it, and that market is really important for me, because if that market wasn't there 35 miles away or 50 miles away, there'd be another one 100 miles away.
Do they come get it, or you got to bring it to them?
I take it to them.
What do you take? You have a bunch of trucks. How do you get it to them?
I've got a semi. I got a Peterbilt semi that I haul about 850 bushel on, and we haul it down there to them in semi loads.
Awesome. All right, today the president had an event in the Oval Office where he talked about a bunch of stuff, but the point of it was to give $12 billion of my tax dollars to America's farmers. I'm not against the farmers, number 3, but I'm not sure why they get $12 billion, because the president decided to tariff people. Number 3, this is the New York Times headline. Trump giving farmers $12 billion to blunt trade war fallout. Federal relief money comes after China boycotted American farm products in retaliation for U.S. tariffs. $11 billion of it is for an existing program that reimburses farmers, and $1 billion is for others. Here's the president, economic genius, number 5, explaining why I get to give farmers money, because he wants to tariff China.
Delighted to announce this afternoon that the United States will be taking a small portion of the hundreds of billions of dollars we receive in tariffs. We are making a lot of money from countries that took advantage of us for years. They took advantage of us like nobody's ever seen. Our deficits are way down because of tariffs. I guess because of the election, because without the election you wouldn't have tariffs. You'd be sitting here losing your shirt. But we're taking in billions. We're really taking in trillions of dollars, if you think about it, Scott, because the real numbers, you know, when you think of all the money being poured into the country for new auto plants and all of the other things, AI. So what we're doing is we're taking a relatively small portion of that, and we're going to be giving and providing it to the farmers in economic assistance. And we love our farmers, and as you know, the farmers like me, because you know, based on voting trends, you could call it voting trends or anything else, but they're great people. They're the backbone of our country. So we're going to use that money to provide $12 billion in economic assistance to American farmers. $12 billion is a lot of money, Meryl. What do you think? Peanuts for you, though, right? Peanuts. She's a farmer of rice. This relief will provide much needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market.
Governor,
and look ahead.
I love our farmers. Our farmers are the salt of the earth. If I could give $12 billion directly to Senator Tester, I would. But there's a toy store in my neighborhood that went out of business because of the tariffs. Where's $12 billion for toy store owners? What about the consumers who can't afford to buy the falafel in my neighborhood? It costs $2.50 for one falafel ball. Where's the money for me to be able to afford falafel balls? Why do farmers get $12 billion? What's the reason for that? Or is it just because farmers vote in red states? I don't know. Why is that happening?
Well, I think you hit it on your second point. First of all, there isn't money for any of those groups that you want to give money to based upon our deficit. As a conservative Republican, I'd have to ask, where in the heck's the money coming from?
Well, it's coming from the tariffs, the trillions and cajillions coming from the
this
tariffs.
is showing the divide within my party.
Yeah.
And it's a divide in several areas. First of all, I know in North Carolina, the rural areas voted for Trump and the Republicans very heavily, and have voted Republican very heavily in the past 20 years. I'm sure as a senator, very similar trends in Montana. And the farmers are a big part of that, and all people associated with the farming community. By the way, the ag community is very big. It's just not, quote, farmers. We're also talking about all the association, the suppliers, and the feeders and chicken farmers and the pig farmers here in North Carolina. It's when people think of farming, they only think of growing things. It's much, much bigger than that.
Yeah.
So he's got to reach out to the people that voted for him to get him elected president, both the first and second time. And so they're not happy with the tariffs. And the division also within the party is the Club for Growth helped elect many Republicans currently in the House, especially the Freedom Caucus. And the Club for Growth was totally free tariff and against, by the way, they went against me in my campaign, spent, I don't know, $15 million against me based upon the tariff issue. That was their number one issue. So one of the silent things in our party that no one's talking about on Capitol Hill is behind the scenes, the Freedom Caucus, the conservative caucus, is free trade.
Yeah.
They got elected on free trade because the Club for Growth, the head guy out of Indiana ran for governor one time, former congressman. He gave a lot of money to these Republicans to get elected. So they are silent on this issue. And I'm sure they're putting a lot of pressure on the president. You've got to help out our farmers because these tariffs are counter to the way we initially got elected during the past decade. So that's the division within our party, very similar to some of the divisions in the Democratic Party. It's just not being talked about because the allegiance to President Trump, they can't risk that. They have a bigger allegiance to Trump than they do for the Club for Growth.
Yes, sir. Senator, do you understand why the farmers like you are getting $12 billion?
I think part of it's Pat's exactly right. I want to just say something really quick for what Pat
Yes,
said.
sir.
Pat, you're the kind of Republican I grew up with. That's not the Republican we got now. I mean, the good old conservative, pro-defense, pro-family values Republicans, man, they're hard to find. And I'm going to tell you as a Democrat, I appreciate that because I believe in a two-party system and I like fighting that. I'm going to tell you what this reminds me of, Mark. This reminds me of a guy setting my house on fire and then coming up with a fire truck about 5 minutes later and says, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
The tariffs caused the problem. We raise more food in this country than we consume. We have to have foreign markets. If we don't have foreign markets, the price tanks. That has happened. We depend upon foreign country for parts. I had a bearing go out on my round baler this summer. I would have loved to have a part made in USA. I went down to the local John Deere dealership. I bought it. It had made in Korea on it. That's fine. I needed to get the damn baler running because I had hay to roll up and get put in a bale. So I wasn't going to sit there and argue with them whether it was made in USA or made in Korea. The point is that those prices have gone up on the input side, whether it's parts or whether it's fertilizer, or herbicides or whatever it might be, and it's pinched people down. I talked to one of my neighbors today and I said, he's rolling out a $12 billion plan to support farmers. And he said, I hope I get a lot of it because if I don't get a lot of it, it ain't going to help me a damn bit because my numbers are underwater. And it's because of those tariffs, by the way, that aren't paid for by other countries. They're paid for by the American taxpayer. And to say you're going to distribute it back to farmers and not take into account what you said, Mark, because there's a lot of other businesses that have been hit hard by these tariffs that deserve some attention too. Although I happen to be in the food industry, I think food's pretty damn important.
Yeah.
But the truth is that you need to ask yourself that question. Number one, just like Pat said, where's the money coming from? And then number two, why is it this group? Why isn't it somebody else? Because we've all been impacted. Everybody's been impacted by the tariffs.
Yes, sir. All right, let's switch to a different topic. Again, if you all want to get in on the conversation, we can ask more ag questions. Please raise your hand. The story of this video of the so-called second tap, which some said would die out, is not dying out. Now, members of both parties are forcing the administration's hand on releasing the video. Number one, please, Sam. Another New York Times headline: the defense bill, the funding for the Defense Department, is going to have in it a provision. Is New York Times: a frustrated Congress pushes the Pentagon to produce its boat strike orders, and a sign of bipartisan frustration with the Defense Department. The final defense policy bill aims to compel the Pentagon to share, execute orders and video documentation. So they've been asking for this material for a long time. Both parties haven't escalated it to a public fight, but now they have. And they basically told the defense secretary his travel budget's going to be cut until he produces this stuff. Here's the president of the United States in that Oval Office event, gets asked a question about releasing the video by ABC's Rachel Scott. and the president answers right on the merits. No, he doesn't. He just criticizes the reporter. Here's number 2, please.
Are you committed to releasing the full video?
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was
You're
up
the
to
most
Secretary Hicks.
obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, actually a terrible reporter. And it's always the same thing with you. I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
Now, I wouldn't actually do this, but I thought today when I thought about Rachel Scott of ABC News, if I was in the Oval Office and I asked him a reasonable question, like you said earlier, release the video, and today he said it's up to Secretary Hegseth. If he said, you're a horrible reporter, I'd say, I'm as good a reporter as you are a president. I think that would go over. Probably not that well. Senator, you served with Mr. Wicker, the gentleman from Mississippi. He's not said a word about what he thinks of this. Tom Cotton has sided with the president and Secretary Hegseth. What do you make of Senator Wicker, chairman of the committee, just saying nothing? What should we read into that?
Well, it's been a fairly common occurrence since this president got sworn in. And I don't know, maybe they feel threatened by the president, both politically and personally. I don't know what to say because I'm not back there. I don't see it. I don't get a chance to talk to these guys in the gym. But the Constitution is pretty clear. Article 1 gives Congress a lot of authority that they're ceding to the executive branch that they should be. And one of those things that they're ceding is oversight. And it's part of their job. It's part of why I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have an obligation to make sure that the executive branch is doing what's legal and right and appropriate for this country. And if you don't, then you got a problem. Then you can cut back funds. You can do a lot of things to them as a congressperson, as a Congress in general. But Roger Wicker's not a bad guy. He's a pretty decent man.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he has not stepped up.
Yeah.
Because
Go ahead, sorry.
Not because he's not smart enough. He's a smart dude. He can do it.
My spidey sense is he's sitting on something. Here's his colleague, your former colleague, Mark Kelly of Arizona, earlier today, commenting again on this brouhaha. 2B, please.
When I was in charge, I was the commander of 2 space shuttle missions. When I had that job, one of the first meetings I would have with my crew members when we first got assigned, I would sit them down and I would tell them that you're required to question my decisions. It's not optional. This is a really dynamic environment we're operating in, and things can go wrong really, really fast. And we could break billion-dollar payloads, or we can get us all killed in a billion-dollar asset. So, my approach was, if you think we should be doing something differently and it affects safety or mission success, you have to talk to me about it, and we'll figure it out together. That's not this president. It's fealty to this guy. And we did something very simple. We spoke, we said something that was true and lawful, and for that, the most powerful man in the world said we should die. I was pretty shocked.
All right. I mentioned Manu Raju earlier, CNN reporter. Senator, when you were walking through the hallway just minding your own business and that guy ran after you, you knew something was up, right? So here's Manu Raju. I have great respect for him. He's just an aggressive reporter. I'll say with respect to him, he's a little into gotcha, a little more into gotcha than I am. But that's what Capitol Hill reporters do. They kind of get you. Here he is, not with the Democrat like Mark Kelly. Here he is with Joni Ernst of Iowa, an ag state. All states are ag states. And here he is with the aforementioned Senator Wicker. Watch, ladies and gentlemen, and see if my spidey sense rings true to you.
You say do you have confidence in him? Would you say that? Can you say if you do?
This is about Hegseth.
Do you have full confidence in his handling of his job as the Secretary of Defense?
Well, I think that the fundamental question is the country safer than it was under the Biden administration? I think the answer to that is unequivocally yes. He serves at the pleasure of the president.
Do you have full confidence in him right now as leader of the Pentagon?
I certainly have concerns about how that issue's been handled.
Do you think you have confidence in his job as Secretary of Defense?
Well, I have confidence in the Congress. So.
Senator, you're a keen observer of how members answer questions. Seem like there's a lot of confidence in Secretary Hegseth?
No.
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 No. Good answer.
Well, Senator, it's obvious. Well, first of all, Senator, I'd be curious. I just see Congress doesn't seem like a branch of government in the past 8 years under both the Biden and the Trump administrations, and maybe even during part of the Obama, that the major branch of government seems to not be doing their job. And I think that's because they're afraid of their own elections. They don't want to go against their leader. I'm a case of that, by the way. I was proven when you don't get the Trump endorsement, even with a 30-point lead, you lose a primary in North Carolina and in other states. And these congressmen, before filing, especially coming up in March, and senators are not going to say anything that irritates the president for fear of a primary. And that's just the way it is right now.
I just don't think Senator Wicker would walk away. And Senator, for those of you who don't speak South Dakotan, with Senator Thune, there's a shorter version. He said, humana, humana, humana. I mean, he was asked pretty point blank, and they don't want to support him. All right, again.
But by the way, real quick, I have no problem with us picking on the governor of, California, Newsom or AOC. Mark Kelly is a strong voice for the opposing party. And I think it's foolish to pick battles with Mark Kelly from a political standpoint.
He could be elected governor of both your states. Go ahead, Senator.
I would just add to what Pat just said. Mark Kelly isn't somebody who's going to back down.
No.
Mark Kelly is going to go headlong into this because he knows he's right, and he ain't going to stop. And I think Pat is exactly right. It's a foolish fight to pick.
Yeah. All right. Let me just run through some news real quick. Again, raise your hand if you want in on the conversation, and you guys can kind of, as we say in Montana, kibitz any of the things I say you want to get in on. President Zelensky in England today, meeting with a bunch of European leaders, posted a video, this is number 7, Sam, saying the meetings went quite well. Number 7.
You're available.
I'll let you know.
You just I'll sit on zo. Shall we start?
So he didn't say the meetings went well, but this is the video he posted. You can see a lot of chumminess. Now, when asked about the plan, the current plan, he said something that seems to validate the president's point of view, that Zelensky's not super enthusiastic. This is a headline. Sam, I don't know the number, but I know you've got it. It's a headline about what he says about the plan, and this is not a surprise or a deviation from his longstanding position, but it does suggest this plan's not going anywhere. Zelensky rules out ceding land to Russia, refusing to bow to Putin or Trump. Ukrainian president said his country would not give up territory, not to hasten peace talks, not to satisfy Washington, and not under pressure from Moscow. Here's the Polymarket. We asked our colleagues at Polymarket where their bettors stood on this question of would there be a ceasefire by the end of the year. This morning I said I was pretty bullish on a deal. That was before President Zelensky spoke out. I was reading the body language out of Florida. Here's the Polymarket. Russia and Ukraine ceasefire this year. Polymarket wagers have it down to 5%. As you can see, it's been as high as close to 20% just a few days ago, but down to 5%. Senator, can you make a bullish case for a deal, or are you also bearish like the Polymarket bettors?
Well, I just think you've got to look at what Ukraine's been through. You got to look at what Zelensky's been through and the people of Ukraine's been through. And you got to ask yourself, what's this country about? Is this country about democracy anymore, or do we just not give a damn? Because that's what Ukraine was fighting for, is for democracy. They want to be like us. They want freedoms. They want privacy. They don't want the thumb of the old bear sticking over the top of them, Putin. And I think to kowtow to Putin in any way is silly. And you've got an incredible dynamic leader like Zelensky that wants to have their country be a democratic nation, and we're gonna kowtow to the dictator who's got a history, a lifetime of doing some serious crap, and I could say a lot worse than crap, by the way, that goes against people's ability to be free and have privacy and have dignity. And so, man, I'll tell you what, I'm not a warmonger. Some fights in this world that are worth fighting for, and we haven't lost one person in that fight. And Russia invaded them not for any other reason, because just that they wanted to reunite the USSR. This is crazy stuff that the United States is going down this road, being on the side of Putin instead of being on the side of freedom.
Senator, before the governor comes in, just to ask you, we haven't lost a person, but we've lost billions of dollars.
we've lost a lot of money,
Yeah.
but Russia has always been, since I was a first grader in school, our primary opponent. And that war has degraded them like no other war that they have been in. And it's been done by a country that understands freedom and is willing to give their lives for it. And yet we're turning around and we're negotiating with the guy and keep kowtowing to his side of things. I'm talking about Putin.
Yeah.
It's not the right thing to be doing for this country. And have we lost our soul or what?
Senator, if there was a plebiscite in North Carolina, more money for Ukraine, up or down vote, how do you think it would come out?
How do I think it
No,
would come?
I'm asking the senator governor for North Carolina. Governor.
I don't know. I just don't know, because people are reading the.
All right, I'll write the ballot measure for you. You tell me how this would come out on the ballot for North Carolina voters. The U.S. government has $20 billion. It can go for schools and roads in North Carolina, or it can go to Ukraine for their military.
Oh, well, that type of loaded question,
Yeah.
you know how it would come out.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
All right, but don't you think most North Carolinians would sort of see it that way at this point, or no?
Well, the America First, as we heard on 60 Minutes last night, would probably win with that type of framing of the question. You can maybe frame the question another way, because that's what we call a loaded question in a survey.
Understood.
Understood.
But I wouldn't do it as a poll.
But I'll tell you right now, I'm probably more with the senator, and I had the honor to know Ronald Reagan, meet him. At least he didn't know me, but I met him several times. And Margaret Thatcher, I had the honor to sit next to when I was mayor a long, long time ago. I think they're rolling around in their graves right now. I come from the theory of peace through strength and the evil empire. That's what I grew up with. Maybe I'm a has-been now with that philosophy, but I think it worked back in the 70s and 80s and even early 90s. And I'm worried about trusting a guy whose role model was Stalin.
Yeah. All right. Let me do some quick things and a word from a sponsor, then your questions. Here's Josh Shapiro lighting a Christmas tree, number 20. He'll be in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. This is part of his march towards the White House. Governor Shapiro. Either of you guys know Governor Shapiro? 2, 3. It's a beautiful tree. All right. That's Governor Shapiro writing a Christmas tree. Here's news on Jimmy Kimmel, number 19. Kimmel not fired by ABC, but had his contract extended. Not sure how the president will feel about that. Hosts the late night show through May of 2027, 24th season of Jimmy Kimmel Live. And here's, as promised, the president on an open mic. He's complaining about how he can't appoint U.S. attorneys today. His former personal attorney, Alina Habba, resigned as the interim U.S. attorney in New Jersey amidst a lot of these decisions where the court's saying you can't just park people as U.S. attorney without normal procedures. Here's the president complaining on an open mic. It's kind of a weird video, and I'm showing it to you a little bit for the gee whiz factor, because what he says isn't all that bad. Number 17, please.
Hey, Jeff, you agree with me on blue stuff? You know I cannot appoint anybody. Huh? I can't appoint anybody. Everybody I've appointed, their time is expired. And then they're in default. And then we're losing cases.
All right. That might have been anticlimactic, ladies and gentlemen, but this isn't. Sam, this is number 22. RFKJ, our Secretary of Health and Human Services, and Sean Duffy, who went from being a reality TV star to a member of Congress to a famous spouse to now the Transportation Secretary, and now the most tapered waist of any cabinet member since, Elizabeth Dole. I don't know. Anyway, here are they doing pull-ups. These guys make me crazy. Go ahead. Here we go. And of course, Bobby's doing it in his suit and tie because that's what he is. All right, it's on C-SPAN. This is what Brian Lamb had in mind when he created C-SPAN. He said, I want to see Bobby Kennedy doing pull-ups. Just for the record, I couldn't do one of these. My back would just give out. All right, can we fast forward? I want to see Duffy. I want everybody to see. Bobby Kennedy's in pretty good shape, ladies and gentlemen, but not like the Secretary of Transportation. Look at him. He's shucking his tie off. Yeah.
But also Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
This is what they do. Like they just do pull-ups.
Sam, forward wind. Just get him on the bar.
DOT, we don't.
I don't need this dialogue. I just want to see the action. Here we go. A lot of prelude. Just so you know, Secretary Duffy, master of talking smack.
That's in the airport. It looks like D.C. Reagan Airport.
Yeah, of course, because that's what cabinet secretaries do. They go to Reagan Airport with a pull-up bar. Come on. Here we go. Look at this. Now, you'll notice Secretary Kennedy's head got near the bar, but look at this guy. He's clearing the thing.
Here we go. Come on.
Look at that. I'm saying he's got a 31-inch waist.
Well, I was with Elizabeth Dole a couple months ago.
Yeah.
The highway dedication to name a highway after her. I think she could do that.
Yeah, she probably
90
could.
years old.
All right. Quick word from a sponsor, then your questions. And just as I read, you can just think quietly about whether you could do those pull-ups, because apparently that's required to be in a cabinet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, cooking time's coming up, end of the year. Want to make some good victuals. You may want to do it in a way that doesn't force you to stand hour and after hour by the stove, by the oven. So get the Chef IQ Sense thermometer. It's a wireless thermometer. You put an app on your phone, put the thermometer in whatever piece of protein you want to eat, and it does the rest. It tells you when you need to turn it, when to take it out, even how long it needs to sit. And during their Black Friday sale, members of our two-way community get an extraordinary 30% off everything on the site using the promo code two-way, chefiq.com, promo code two-way. Black Friday sale goes on and on here. Again, when to flip it, when it's done, how long for it to sit. Cooking can be fun and easy again, so you don't spend your entire time there at the stove, at the oven. You can be playing Boggle with your family, maybe a little Monopoly. I recommend being the dog with the hat. That's my recommendation. Go to chefiq.com, use the promo code two-way, 30% off chefiq.com, promo code two-way. We go to your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, another ag state. My friend Ray, who lives in Ohio. Ray, how many Christmas trees do you have in that house?
14.
How many?
14.
14. That's more than the
14.
McCrory and Tester households have combined, by the way. Ray's wife loves Christmas. Ray, welcome in. Thank you for being here. Ohio, very much an ag state. Ray practically lives on a farm. Ray, what's on your mind for a former senator, former governor?
By the way, I will say the only reason I had my hand up was because I didn't see any other hands until now I see Barton. But I have two questions if there's time. The first question is about the $12 billion that's going to farmers. I'm wondering if somebody cares to explain how that's going to trickle down to customers, or will it?
All right, let's go to the farmer first. Senator, does it help with the prices, or farmers just pocketing that?
Consumers? No, I don't know that it'll end up in their pocket. It'll probably go to pay their bills, quite frankly, because what's going on right now is input costs are way more than you're getting for your product on the marketplace. That being said, I'm going to tell you that I don't know any farmer that wants to get a check from Uncle Sam. They don't want to get a check from the government. They want to get a check from the marketplace. And there's a lot of things that could be done in the marketplace to make this marketplace more competitive, so you wouldn't need taxpayer support to keep farmers alive. And this has been going on for way, way, way too long. But no, long term, could it have an impact? Yeah, if these farmers go broke and land becomes more consolidated, the price of food then goes up, and it could have some impacts long term. But we're talking probably a decade or more out before that kind of stuff starts happening. And it may be too late, by the way, no matter how much money is put on the market, because these tariffs have raised hell with both ends of the spectrum when it comes to folks in production agriculture.
Governor.
The question is, will it be have any impact between now and the election, midterms? And I think the farmer may have answered that question. So it's a public announcement trying to show we're doing something, we're trying to do something, and we'll see if it makes a difference come the midterms and holding the House and Senate.
Ray, second
By the way, I
question.
am glad, however, that they are recognizing, the Democrats in your film are recognizing Christmas now. Senator, I got a compliment. You know, they're now saying Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays. So I'm as a Republican worried that the Democrats are coming to the middle here and recognizing the Christmas holidays. That disturbs me greatly.
It's whatever the opposite of the war on Christmas is. Ray, second question.
The Hegseth thing, it seems to me that Hegseth is a symptom of what happens when unqualified people are involved in the top levels of government. Is there any concern that if we run into a real crisis, whether financial or global, that we'll be unprepared to react?
You mean because of Hegseth specifically?
Everybody in the cabinet, everyone, Patel,
Yeah.
you name it, people that have
Okay.
been criticized as being unqualified.
Governor, you first. Do you have high degree of confidence that if we had a 9/11 type situation or Oklahoma City, that this administration would react well?
I still think we always come together as a country during crisis, and I wouldn't think an exception would occur this time. In fact, sadly, crisis, I've learned this as a mayor and governor too, crisis tend to bring us together as opposed to separate us. And I sure hope it would.
Yeah. Little known fact about Jon Tester, he's a huge Kash Patel fan.
Yeah.
Senator, in all seriousness, are you confident that a crisis would be well handled?
I think the people will always come together because we're Americans, and politics is secondary when push comes to shove. But I will tell you, when you have people like Hegseth in maybe the most important position in an administration, I think it opens us up to harm by countries who want to do us harm. Because as many have said, and it's the way I feel too, this guy is incredibly unqualified for this job. If you take a look at the secretaries of defense we've had in the past, and you take a look at what this guy's priority is, I mean, he was another one doing pull-ups, for God's sakes. I mean, really? And then, I don't want drugs coming into this country either, but it'd be nice to know if they're blowing up drug boats or fishing boats, because that's kind of important. And it'd also be nice to be able to get those people that are in those drug boats to be able to interrogate them to find out where the crap's coming from so they could really stop it from coming in, instead of blowing up a bunch of people who are really, really pretty small on the food chain.
Ray,
I think the most important player that I have confidence in is probably our Secretary of State.
Yeah.
I think he's the most mature person and seems to be doing a great job. And at times he keeps his mouth shut also until the conclusion's there. And I think if I were the president's advisor, which I'll never be asked, I would use Marco much more out front.
Ray, thank you. Senator, we're going to help you fix your Zoom settings because I know you're wondering why it is your camera's buzzing all around like that. Barton, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for Senator Tester, Governor McCrory.
I'm here in New York City, and I'm a almost 80-year-old retired physician, and I've been thinking a lot about affordability. And since we have both a Republican and a Democrat who seem reasonably moderate, it was something I was thinking about that makes sense to me. I was wondering what you gentlemen would think. I think that to ease the housing problem, cost of housing, two simple things might be increase the deductibility, capital gains to about $2 million or $2.5 million, which would unlock a lot of older people who would love to sell their homes but would have to pay an exorbitant amount of taxes. And the other thing you could do with it, it was really work for mortgage portability, which, as you know, is available in Canada and the United Kingdom. I think those two as a package could really spur, the supply of housing, bring down prices. And I went through some numbers. The estimated tax loss for the raising the capital gains to say $2.5 million, would it be only about $200 to $400 billion a year, which compared to some of the other tax cuts is nothing.
Yep.
And you would also get transfer fees for states. You would get, moving and.
Yep. Barton, before we get to our two guests to comment, are you advocating on your first provision that it apply only to home sales or raise it for everything? Just for home sales. Okay.
For a primary residence,
Understood.
not for your summer home.
Understood.
So those people, like even in New York City, I know people that
can't
bought
move.
a home in Brooklyn.
Understood. Senator.
For $100,000.
Yep. Senator, do I remember correctly? You were on the Finance Committee, or did I make that up?
No, you made it up. I was on
Approps. Oh, that's right. Powerful appropriations, finances for.
He looks like the powerful type.
Yeah. Senator, what do you think of those two ideas?
I think on one hand, I think it would absolutely, free up housing, which would help with the supply issue. I don't think there's any doubt about that. On the other hand, 200 to 400 billion, if you think about what you just said, there is a lot of damn money in 1 year. That means, and in DC, they usually put these expenditures out over 10. So what is that? 4 trillion, $2 to $4 trillion over 10. That is a lot of money. You got to figure out how we could do this in a way, and I don't think the governor would disagree with me, in a way where we're not just piling a bunch of debt on our kids. That's all.
Okay. Pat, you think those are good ideas?
I think it's I think it's a pretty good idea, but it all comes down to where's the money coming from, because someone's already anticipated that money coming into the revenue in the future.
Yeah.
The other dilemma is going to be, the Gen X's and all the people below them are going, how much more do we need to give the baby boomers like myself and everyone on this phone call?
But they'll have the money because they'll get the tax. They'll be able to sell their home.
Yeah.
They'll be able to give it to their kids.
Yeah,
And
I'd be curious if there was an income line there somewhere too.
Yeah, you'd have to put that in probably to
It's
pass it.
the starting proposal.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you're trying to solve a problem. I think that's great.
And it's more original ideas than I've heard from 90% of members of Congress in the last 10 years. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barton. Senator, go ahead.
It's a point where you can visit about and start making adaptations.
Yeah, that's right.
Make it work.
That's right. All right, quick word for one more sponsor, then back to the guests here. This is about agriculture, so Senator will be interested. This is products from CB Distillery. CB Distillery products can help you during these hectic holiday times. 25% off everything on the website, cbdistillery.com. Promo code 2-way. Everything you need for a merry holiday is here. Mom's stuff mom's stocking with CBD for better sleep. Give a gift of pain relief after working out to your friends. And don't forget to grab a little holiday calm for yourself. All the products on cbdistillery.com are made with premium quality, clean ingredients, no fillers or anything artificial. Over 2 million customers have purchased from CB Distillery, and they get 100% money back guarantee. It's a gift you can feel good about giving. Again, go to cbdistillery.com. Promo code 2-way, save 25% your entire order. cbdistillery.com, promo code 2-way, 25% off. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And Ryan, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for the governor and the senator.
Hello, gentlemen, governor and senator. I appreciate the time. I wanted to talk about defense and foreign policy. One, the new military strategic plan that came out this past weekend, wondering if you had any comments. And then it seems like this particular administration is much more, much less interested in the idea of a unified foreign policy between Republicans and Democrats. And it seems like they're most interested in propping up right-wing governments. Examples would be Argentina, providing dollars to the Argentinian government for them to survive, as well as the fact that they have seemingly taken our talking about agriculture, our soy sales to China. In addition, what we're doing with Putin, really allowing him to prop up, and then JD Vance going around Europe, really defending and propping up those right-wing parties. Just wondering what your comments are there.
So, Pat, two-part question. If you read the long report, annual report, and what you think of Ryan's critique of their preferences for allies, or at least countries we do treat favorably.
Well, in defense of Trump, I could say, well, their strategy is pragmatic. It's the opposite of maybe the extreme of Bush, President Bush, where he tried to spread democracy. And so we've done a complete flip as a party, and there's probably a middle ground somewhere in there. Sometimes we have to get in bed with dictators, sadly, and sometimes we can't convert to democracy like we've tried in the Middle East. So I think that's the middle ground that we as a country need to seek. Somewhere in between, I think, is the right answer. So we've gone from Bush to Trump, pure pragmatism, the heck with what they've done in the past, whether it be Putin or Argentina or whoever, to Bush, who let's bring democracy to Saudi Arabia or wherever.
Yeah.
So I think there's a middle ground there somewhere that we need to seek.
Senator.
I'm curious to hear what the senator says.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but I would tell you I have not read the military report. But I will say this: I think it's incredibly dangerous to push away our traditional allies that have been there since World War II, that we've had their back and they've had our back, and make them feel like they're the bad guys. And we can start with Canada, and we can go to Europe, and we can go down the list. And then embrace the folks, and you already said this, Ryan, embrace the folks that are, the more dictatorial style government. I think it's incredibly dangerous, and I think it goes against who we are as a democracy. And I think it's a huge mistake. Our power in this world since World War II has come with our relationships with our allies all over the world. And to push away those allies and to make them think that they're inferior and not valuable is incredibly dangerous in the overall world order.
Ryan, I didn't read it because I took it as seriously as the people who wrote it did. How's that? I read accounts of it, but it's clear that it was not that serious a document. They did it because they had to, but I didn't take it all that seriously. Grateful to you, Ryan. Thank you for being here.
The good news is, I agree with the senator. We've got NATO and the Europeans to contribute more, but you don't need to give them the harsh language that we're doing publicly. It's just, that's not acceptable.
Senator, how do you use ChatGPT or whatever version you use? How do you use artificial intelligence in your personal and professional lives now?
I ask it questions about how to repair my combine mainly.
Is it good at answering that?
That's damn good. I mean, it's
does it bring up videos or just detailed instructions?
It just writes it out page after page. It is really good. But I just want to say one thing, because AI is getting people are really, really nervous about AI, and I think it's important this country stays ahead on AI and doesn't give China any advantages in this network with the chips or anything else out there. As far as giving China the top chips, that's a huge, huge, huge mistake. So we need to stay ahead of the game on this, and then we need to put sideboards on it to make sure it's used for the good and not the evil.
Yeah. Senator, do you agree with that? Would you not want to sell China the chips? Some people say if you don't sell them the chips, they'll develop their own. We should give them ours.
I agree with the senator. If you're talking to me, Mark, I'm
yes,
sorry.
Sir. Governor,
I agree with the senator. I don't get it. Whether we can really control it is another thing, because China has such a history of stealing whatever we do anyway. So it's just going to be a matter of time, and we probably have to accept that. But China and some of the old Soviet states and North Korea are known to steal. Even as governor, we had to be worried about stuff being stolen from Russia, China, infiltrating our IT systems. And so it's going to be a problem. I don't know why we'd give it to them. I don't get it.
All right, rapid round. We just got a minute, so we'll do like 3 in a minute. Here we go. First Trump cabinet member to depart, Senator.
Peg, Seth.
Pat?
I agree.
Most likely Democratic presidential nominee in 2028. Governor first.
Governor of California.
Senator?
I would say that too, but I got to disagree with him. Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. Okay.
This guy.
Most likely to win the college football championship this year. Senator.
Indiana.
Governor.
I was born in Columbus, Ohio, so I got to say Ohio State. It sure as heck's not going to be UNC.
If you were born in Ohio, you should got to say the Ohio State. I was so impressed with the Indiana quarterback. I confess,
I moved to North Carolina.
I understand. I hadn't watched a single game of Indiana all year, and I watched the game against the Ohio State. He's incredible, that guy.
I was impressed by the coach when it was all over with. The guy never cracked a smile. Damn game.
Yeah.
You think he'll come to? Do you think he'll come to Carolina? Can we get him to?
No. You're stuck with who you got the first time. Gentlemen, I couldn't be more grateful to you for being here. Governor's been here before. Senator, I hope you'll both come back. Loved having you on. And you need to go in your video settings and turn off the automatic zoom. Otherwise, you're going to give everybody vertigo, including your family on a family zoom. Let's go in the video settings.
Hey, take it easy on the senator, man.
No, I'm trying to help him out. Video settings. Go to video settings and scroll down to auto framing. Turn that off. Turn off auto framing. That's my gift to you.
I'm on it.
All right. Thank you both for being here. Really enjoyed having you. Grateful to everybody for being part of the two-way community. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time, I will be back for the morning meeting. But right now, turn over and watch Ethan Supley for his program about living a healthier life. Available to you now. Lifelong with Ethan. Available now as guest Jordan Graham. Turn over and watch that on two-way, and I'll see you at 9 a.m. And great thanks to both the governor and the senator for being here.
Thank you, Senator.
Have a good evening.